And you'd think that a teacher who teaches in front of tons of adults every day and has been doing this for 3 years wouldn't be afraid of a demo lesson. But I'm telling you, when you are teaching kids that you don't know, and you're teaching a content or a curriculum that you might not be familiar with, man, that is so scary. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you don't know me, my name is Braylon. I'm a special ed teacher. Some of you guys have been following along with me on Instagram through my whole process of beginning to look for a new job for the new school year. There are some incredible videos that talk about interviews. They talk about interview questions. They talk all about portfolios. I'm gonna link those below. I think there are a few differences between special ed and general ed. If you haven't watched my previous video that goes into detail about my experience looking for a job, I did use a whole portfolio system. I had this massive portfolio. It had every piece of information, all of the example lesson plans from when I was a student teacher. I had everything, and I brought it with me to all of my previous interviews. What I soon realized, at least for me in special ed, is I didn't need all of that information. If I was at an interview and I brought my portfolio there, a lot of times I never even touched it, and the interview people never even asked for it. I had to purposefully open it up and show them examples. This time around, I realized, you know what? I probably only need a few things. And so when I went to this round of interviews, I only brought the things that were specific and that I felt would represent me really well as a teacher. Also, stay tuned to the end because I talk about having demo lessons, which is something that I never had to do the first round. When I went to my interviews, I brought them all in these two manila, what's the word for these? File folders. There we go. And so that was all I brought with me along with my demo lesson stuff. I did bring a copy of my educator license just in a nice sheet protector. I also brought my transcripts. I also brought the results of my educator tests. Now that that stuff is out of the way, the most important thing that I brought was examples of how I collect data. And I brought them all in a little folder like this. Examples of data sheets, examples of graphs without students' names on them. I even brought fake graphs just so that there would be no issue. Examples of types of accommodations that I make for other students, whether that's work that has been highlighted so that they can trace, examples of worksheets that I've created to mimic the curriculum of the general education classroom. I brought all of that in this folder. I also brought in this folder examples of what it looks like for me to have different visuals. I brought visuals about sitting in your seat, ways to manage emotions and behavior. I brought all of those things with me just to show the school that I was aware that students need visuals in order to follow the rules throughout the school day. And I actually wanted to show the various schools that I knew how to do pacing guides, that I knew how to plan for multiple children, that I was aware of planning multi-grade, because chances are if you're going into special ed, you're going to be in a multi-grade classroom. I wanted to show examples of how I did push in and pull out services and allowing my students to do inclusion. Those were things I wanted to showcase to the school so that they were aware that I was able to do more than just accommodate one student at a time. My example lesson plans that I make, which for my classroom, I plan Monday through Friday, every subject, and it's either by small group or by students individually. And some of them follow the lessons of the general ed second grade, and some of them are more individual and specific. Probably the most important thing that I brought I can't even stress this enough. It took me a little bit to make this, I'm not gonna lie. But for my classroom now, I made a chart of everything that happens throughout the day. I created the schedule for the day and I outlined each part of the day, what exactly happens. So if they're in math, what the students are required to do in math, what the small groups are. The school wants to see what kinds of things can this special ed teacher bring to the school. And if I have what my typical day looks like, they can kind of get a general idea of what my classroom in their school is going to look like. And I think it gave them a clear understanding. The communication that you have with the school, the way you interact with the students if you're walking around the school, how you interact with the staff, the answers to the interview questions, those are the kinds of things that are really gonna make you shine and stand out amongst all the other applicants. So, for 2 of my interviews this year, I had to do a demo lesson, and it was with real live children, and I was so nervous. And you'd think that a teacher who teaches in front of tons of adults every day and has been doing this for 3 years wouldn't be afraid of a demo lesson, but I'm telling you, when you are teaching kids that you don't know, and you're teaching a content or a curriculum that you might not be familiar with, man, that is so scary. For one of the interviews I had, they really were really good about giving me information on the students that I was going to be working with, on the specific skills that I should focus on, and that was super helpful. And I was able to create a whole lesson, like a 30-minute lesson, that I brought with me to my interview, and I was able to do a whole demo lesson in front of a bunch of adults. But I decided for this one that I was gonna do a reading lesson, and I packed everything up super neat, super organized, because I wanted them to be able to see that I was prepared for a lesson. I decided to read a book out loud, but you could read any book. I planned 3 activities for them. It was sequencing the story with little pieces from the story. The other was looking at the various words in the story, and then we recreated the words with these alphabet cards. I brought all of my pieces in some sort of small little pouch. One of the activities that I brought involved a glue stick, so I brought 2 glue sticks just in case. I think for a demo lesson, the biggest thing, besides the content and the way you present the content and the way you speak to the children, I feel like the number one thing that a school is looking for is your classroom management / behavior management style. And what I decided to do was bring along the things that I currently use in my classroom for classroom management. So before I even started the lesson, I brought out this little pouch, and inside were different pictures that go along with the routines and the behaviors that I was looking for. So one of the little cards we talked about as a group for both of my demo lessons that I had, and talked about what does it look like to listen to the teacher. And especially the group that I had where I had like 5 students, we talked about, okay, we're gonna be sitting during this lesson. This is what I'm looking for. This is what it means to sit. And we passed along the cards so that they could see. We passed along how to ask a question and raise your hand. They might know this stuff, but reviewing the behaviors is so key. And I think the schools really want to see that. The other thing I brought was a timer. So I decided I was going to build in breaks every like 10 minutes. And so I would set the timer, we'd do a little bit of work, and they knew the break was coming. And that is one of the easiest ways to help with behavior, is when students know that there's a break coming. And that seems so basic, but I think when you're in a demo lesson, it's just so like scary and like nerve-wracking that some of the behavior management stuff just kind of flies out of your brain. I really wanted to be able to still showcase that, you know what, it is a demo lesson. I don't work here yet, but I have a very good grasp of what it looks like for students to be paying attention and following the routine, and I want that to shine. I know that there are people watching who are about to start looking for jobs. There are people who are currently in their job and they have some really incredible information. So if you want to add to the conversation, give some tips and advice about what you did to get your job and to really make sure that that interview goes really smoothly, let me know in the comments below. And until next time, bye.